Today, we're gonna check with one of my online heroes, Nicole Walters. Now, let me read you some impressive bio and also will tell you what you're gonna receive during this episode. After over 10 years as a powerhouse sales executive at the Fortune 500 companies, she quit her job live on Periscope in front of 10,000 people, talking about burning the boat to start her own business. Less than 1 year later, she had grown the monetized life into a transformative lifestyle brand and helped hundreds of entrepreneurs generate millions in revenue. Through online courses, consulting, and networking, Nicole teaches everyday entrepreneurs how to use the strategies she mastered in the corporate world to build multiple streams of income out of their passion. Let me tell you what you will learn in this episode. First of all, I want to warn you that a lot of laughter is in this episode. And also, I think my Labrador barked once. What do you do? It's real life. Now, you will hear both of us laugh out loud at those ridiculous claims that we see so often on the internet that follow ABC formula, then you will achieve 6, 7, 8 figures in XYZ day. You will learn that her journey up till now, what prompted her to change from her former career to become an entrepreneur. Also that how did she manage to achieve so much in relatively short amount of time? What is the main difference between the corporate versus solo entrepreneurial mindset of doing things as well? What are the habits she had to get rid of or establish as she transit become an entrepreneur? We talk about how to future-proof your business. At the time of recording this episode, globally, we are dealing with COVID-19. And what is this current crisis reminds us as a Christian entrepreneurs? And what are the right milestones you should hit based on the stage of your business? We wrap it up to talk about what is a true humility means for Christian entrepreneurs. Are you excited? I hope so. Now, let's check with Nicole. Nicole, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so glad this is like one of the big prayer answer for me personally.
Oh my gosh, you're too kind. No, it's my joy to be here, and it's always exciting to have an opportunity to talk to new people.
You know, in the introduction, I already, tell everybody how awesome you are. But it's always a lovely. I know it's crazy to say that if there's still somebody don't know about you. I mean, if they follow the entrepreneurial journey, but that just say in case. That's maybe you can share with us a little bit about your journey up to now, because we know that you are in the cushy, a corporate executive job and then turn entrepreneur, turn CEO. Tell us about
Sure. So, like you mentioned in the intro, obviously that's the like boring version of it. But the big version of it is that I was working in corporate and I had the 9-to-5 job. And unlike I think a lot of people or a lot of stories you hear, it wasn't a situation where it was like, my job is horrible and I hate it every day. It wasn't that. It was just that I really felt like I had a calling. Something that was being spoken over my life that was much more than what I was doing in my cubicle. And it wasn't about the work I was doing, helping businesses or helping my corporation grow and scale and get new customers and make revenue. All of that I was using my skills the right way. I was just using them for the wrong people. And I knew that, while my job fed my family, it didn't feed my soul. And that I was in a situation where I could continue to be where I was and be comfortable, or I could take the risk of being uncomfortable and answer God's call in my life. And that was the leap that I decided to make when I quit my job and decided to jump into entrepreneurship.
Well, and then she did not do it the regular way,
I didn't. I know. I tried to gloss over that, Kelly. I was trying not to say it. So I quit my job live online in front of 10,000 people, and it was huge. It went viral. Lots of people watched it. It was very classy. I mean, I'm raised well, it wasn't a big messy thing, but it also was, sort of my way of saying, look, I'm not turning back. I'm leaping all the way in. And, this is a journey where I've prepared and I've done the steps, but I'm also leaping out on faith, because I know for a fact that one thing I could not deny was there was an urgency and a calling. Enough is enough. You cannot be here anymore. It's time for you to go, and so that was where I went. And 5 years later, there's no looking back. It's been great.
She basically burned the boat.
I burned the boat. I said, that is it. I am at sea and good luck. That is exactly what I did.
Well, it's like a Peter walk out of the boat, walk on the water. You cannot say, hey, let me head back, right?
Oh, it's such a funny joke, because 1 Peter 4:10 is the verse that I live my life by. And in my house and my friends, they all call me Peter, because that's how I am. I am Peter all day. I wish I wasn't. I wish I had like unwavering faith, but I am Peter in the sense that, I'll trust God. I'll step out of the boat. I'll start walking, but I will look down. I'll look down, and then I'll start drowning, and I'll be like, God, help me. And he always does, and then I'm like, oops, I should have been, I should have been faithful. So it's like, yes, I am Peter all day. And that verse actually is part of what got me moving. It was 1 Peter 4:10.
Yeah.
It's that we have to use our gifts not just to serve ourselves, but to serve others as the greatest way to glorify God. So I realized if I'm sitting in my cube, I'm really just serving myself, and that's not good enough. It's just not good enough.
So true.
Mm-hmm.
So, like you achieve so much in relatively short amount of time.
Sure.
Right. So, and then at the time of recording, and we're about to release this episode actually in the coming Tuesday, we're kind of dealing with globally the COVID crisis at the moment.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So what would you say that what are some practical steps that you did so you could achieve so much in short amount of time?
Well, I think the biggest part is, and I think a lot of people may have skipped this step, but they're going back to it, whether or not we are in difficult economic times or we're dealing with challenging health circumstances. One thing we can guarantee is that life is going to be complicated. And, the Bible talks about how weapons will form, but they won't prosper. And I think a lot of us get caught up in the whole, like, weapons will form, but they won't prosper, and that not prospering part. But we forget the fact that the Bible has explicitly warned us that weapons will form. So the idea that we think we're going to have businesses or any type of success or a life without any challenges, is ill-suited. But what God is saying to us is we still have to prepare. So as a business owner, one of the things I did was I just made sure that I did all the important practical steps. Like I set myself up as an LLC, a limited liability company, which matters a lot in the States, that you have to make sure you're set up legally. And I built out my business bank account separately. And I built my business debt free, making sure to always save a portion of every dollar that comes in for a rainy day and for growth. And, and I hired employees, but I did that very slowly. These are all practical steps that I think in the world of internet marketing and social media, where we're consuming every single day, we're looking at people who seem to be having Lamborghinis and fancy lives, we lose sight, of what business is really about. And it is about taking some of those kind of boring, simple, slow, practical steps, but they help you weather the storm. Those are the things that are unwavering. And now, I think a lot of people are looking back and saying, I wish I'd done some of those things, because if I had, nothing would really shake me, in the same way. So those are some of the things that are not very interesting. They're not tricks, they're not anything amazing, but they're the reason why I think, especially during the difficult economic times, my business is still thriving. We're actually up 23%.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And it's kind of similar, same here, because I know that you, I think you and me, we, there's one thing, well, I see more than one thing in common,
Right.
but
yeah.
Because I was a corporate executive too. So, I remember that in the corporate world, right, when we do something, we have those task breakdown, we have those processes, right?
Yes.
But when we come online, it seems like people just put a banner on and say, I'm a coach, I'm a consultant. And then say,
yes,
right?
Yes.
And then they just follow, like, just follow me, step 1, 2, 3. In 7 days, you will get 6 figures. It's something like that. So when I saw you, I was like, hallelujah, finally, there is one more weird gal like me that I don't say that way.
It's so true.
Can you tell me about, tell us about that? What's the main difference
Right.
between the corporate and versus like solo entrepreneur mindset and doing things?
Right, right. So I think that a lot of people think corporate and they think bad or gross or, oh my gosh, they box you in and you're not able to do stuff. And that's not the case at all, because the truth is, if you're an entrepreneur, at some point in time, I'm sure it's your hope that you grow to the size of a corporation. And if that isn't your goal, then what exactly are you doing? If you're not trying to have that type of reach and that type of impact and that type of revenue. So if you're an entrepreneur and you're saying, okay, well, no, I'm just doing this kind of for fun, well, then, okay, you're a hobby. You know what I mean? But if you're a serious business owner and you're saying to yourself, I want to bring in revenue, well, your goal, much like a corporation, is also to keep that revenue. And so in corporations, they're focused on both things. And I feel like in solo entrepreneurship and the internet world, they're focused mostly on getting revenue, not getting it and keeping revenue. So anything that you hear of the marketing where it's like, 7-day challenge to 6 figures, or I had a 5-figure launch or whatever, a lot of that I think is just trying to use the gimmick of how I got money, but no one's really talking about the back end of keeping it. And we learned that the truth behind keeping money is a lot of the stuff that we think is gross in corporate. It's the reporting, it's the structure, it's the data, it's the analytics, it's the processes, it's the team, it's saving, and all of those things you can't get rid of. It's the thing that keeps you from feast or famine. So I think that more and more in these next few days, right, as we move forward and we start thinking about the new world of entrepreneurship, I think we're all going to see that the people who come from corporate weren't crazy. There's a way to do it. There's space to do it in entrepreneurship, but you can't skip those steps.
Sorry, guys. It sounds
Sorry,
boring.
guys.
Sorry,
It
guys.
sounds
It sounds
boring.
boring. We don't have like a quick formula for you, like a step 1, 2, 3, right?
Yep. It's just not true. You have to do the work.
Sorry. Today my soul is not happy. So
I know.
So what would you say, what are some new habits you had to establish or got rid of since you had transitioned from the corporate executive to entrepreneur? I'm sure that, I know Nicole's style because I follow her like forever, but I really admire her that she's like share the good and the bad and ugly things, right?
Yeah,
so
right.
I'm sure that there's not every day is a rainbow for you as an entrepreneur. So that's why the question of what are some habits you have to establish or you have to get rid of since you transit?
Sure. So I think one of the things that a lot of people forget about when you start working for yourself is that part of what you dealt with when you were in corporate was that you were being paid to not worry about keeping the lights on or paying payroll or, whether or not your laptop is going to work or what your parking space is going to be or, any of those little things were not things that I ever had to think about, because I wasn't in charge of them. And so once you start realizing as an entrepreneur that you are the person people are looking at for the problem answer, like if there is a problem, you are the solution. How are you going to figure it out? It's a whole different energy that you have to kind of bring to the work every single day. And I also find myself saying, just realizing that the calling is bigger. So for instance, I have 20 employees and, we provide health benefits for them, 401k benefits for them. They work full time. I have a corporate office that I have to, maintain and, and knowing that I now have all of these things that, and I'm a true business, it's a different way because you recognize that each person also represents a family and it represents a future and they're using their salary to pay for tuition, which represents another future going, and that type of transition was hard for me because I do have my days where you realize the weight of your decisions just is so much bigger. And, I gotta say, it helps that I have faith, that I recognize that God wouldn't give me more than I could bear, and that He has great things for me. That, like, if it wasn't for prayer, faith, and focus, as well as surrounding myself with people who are prayerful and focused, and even my team. I prayed, I said, God, please bring me people who will at least understand that I am unwavering and not shaking in my faith. And my team is like disproportionately Christians, and not on purpose, it just worked out that way. Right. And what's great is, we pray over our employees, we pray over our staff. And they also, even though we have people on our team who aren't Christians, they also understand that that's how we run our business. And having that sort of, I realize that I don't get to escape everything that was in corporate, no matter what. Even though I left because I was like, I want to kind of do it my own way. What I learned was, nope, I'm still doing it the corporate way because it works. But what's great is I get to be open about my faith. I get to bring the energy to it that I want to. I get to care about people and run a business with heart, which is something that, in corporate, you don't really get to see or do much of, so it's a real blessing to be able to do that. And for me, that trade-off is worth it, but it's not easy.
I'm so glad you share, actually, because from the outside, we saw, well, Nicole is up there. So everything is great. She has a team. She has a team to serve her. And then wherever she goes, she can change all the dresses when she goes speaking, try different wigs.
Right. Different wigs every day. Right. You never know who you're going to get.
Right. But what people forget is that means you have a whole team. You have to feed. You have to feed them. It's not like you wake up. You like before when we work in the corporate, whether we like or not. After out of the office, pretty much okay.
Done. I miss vacation days, Kelly. You get it. I miss. Don't you want to call in and say, okay, I'm not coming in, but I'm still going to get my paycheck? That's not a thing in entrepreneurship. Who am I going to call? Myself? That's not a thing.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So that's the thing. So what would you say that I know you are also a mama at home, and we have a lot of corporate leaders, female corporate leaders in this podcast listening now, and at the moment I think I teasing with them sometimes if they're still corporate leaders, they're a little bit outsource out their child care when they're out there, right?
Yes, it's so true. It's so true.
But now because during this lockdown time, and also many of them, they are thinking about gradually want to transit out, become an entrepreneur. Absolutely. What would you say, what is your biggest challenge as a mother when you work from home?
Yeah, so I think the biggest challenge is feeling guilty because I still have to work. So it's like, that's the truth. It's like, who's going to pay for this stuff, And so that part's hard because I think that anyone who's a mom, we love our kids. We want to be around our kids. Like in a perfect world, we would be able to be around them and just be available, But the reality is if you're running a business or if you're even the breadwinner, because I think that for a lot of us, we found that our husbands who may leave to go work elsewhere now because we're the ones, because we're the entrepreneurs, we're the ones that are the breadwinner now. And I think that it's challenging because our kids, especially if you have little ones, if they can see you, you're available. It's not, it's like, I can see you, so you must be here. And it's like, no, mom's invisible right now. You can't actually see me. I'm not here, So that part is, right now, I'm doing this podcast interview from the corner of my bedroom, because that's where I could get away, where I can't hear the kids and all of that. So it's hard. And I think that part of the challenge is dealing with some of that guilt, where a lot of people say the guilt, like, oh, you're supposed to be everything for your kids. But no, some of the guilt for me is I like my job and I like doing it and I like being here and I like serving people. And where some of the guilt comes in is that I don't necessarily feel bad in every single moment that I'm not being a mom, because I also know I'm good at this. So I think that is the world wants you to feel really bad about not being a mom all the time. And yes, there is some guilt with that, but there's also some of the guilt of knowing like, no, I actually really like not being a mom all the time, because this, I think, makes me a more well-rounded person and it helps me, in the world in general. So it's a challenge. You know what I mean? Like Jesus made sacrifices too in order to serve the calling he was put on the earth for too. You think Jesus didn't want to just ride roller coasters and eat candy? I'm sure he did. You know what I mean? But he was the Son of God and he had a job to do, So I think that reminding ourselves that as well as moms is, yes, we want to be in other places, but the reality is, we have a calling on our lives and it's our job to answer that as well.
So funny you say this, but a lot of people from outside, they thought, oh, you guys don't have that kind of guilt as a corporate people because you guys can stay home all the time.
Oh, they always think that, but that's not the case at all. Like, because people don't, like, I heard the other day someone mentioned in my community, they were like, I'm home right now. And my little one, I saw their first steps, and the first steps happened when I looked at the clock, I realized I would have been at the office. So I wouldn't have ever seen my child take their first steps. And so they were like, that was a beautiful thing, and then 10 seconds later, they started screaming and I was in the middle of a call, and I was like, that's reality, that's what it's like, and yeah, people say like, oh, you have it so good, but it's like, no, you don't know. Sometimes you miss the milestones. You blink and they're grown, So it's a mixed bag, but that's part of it. Not everything is all sweet.
Yeah, exactly. For example, today, in order for my Labrador doesn't bark too much, I asked my husband come after our interview.
Right.
So
Yes. It's the truth.
You have to do these kind of things. So,
Yes.
What would you see that the current, the global crisis reminds us as a Christian entrepreneurs?
So I think one of the things that I am very humbled in learning from this global crisis is that God can set a reset whenever He wants to.
Amen.
He can set whenever He wants to.
Yeah.
And He's saying, listen, I don't like the way it's going, so we are going to stop and start over, go this way, do this, return back to these values. And that is both humbling and freeing, because it lets you know that, look, just when it comes to your life, one of the greatest gifts He's given us is the ability to redirect it whenever we want to. Mm-hmm. So if you say to yourself, so often we make excuses, we can't slow down, I have this job, I can't turn around, it is the way it is. And the reality is we have all learned nothing is set in stone. And it can change at any point in time in ways that you never could believe. And I think that is a very empowering lesson for Christians, especially because we realize, look, if something is not aligned with the way that you want it to be, go out there and change it in Jesus' name. And we have the ability to do that. And God just showed a mighty hand of His power that absolutely things can change. So it's been quite the lesson, but I think that it's going to make us all better for it when we move forward.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I think for family together, a lot of families, they don't know how to get along with each other for a long time.
Right. Oh, and you will learn this time. You will absolutely learn.
Right. So I heard a lot of people say, I cannot wait to get back to normal. But for me, Jesus, God is a God looking forward. He never said, let's get back to Egypt. Let's try it out, right?
Right, yes.
So what would you say when it comes to, obviously, the business world, it will be changing all the time. But what do you see is a certain principle advice can really future-proof our business?
I think that in terms of future proofing, it really is just making sure your basics are locked down. I think too often we get caught up in what the new trick is or what the new, gimmick is or the new strategy. And we're always looking for new, but we're forgetting that we need to hammer down. How is your foundation? Is it solid? Because one thing that has never changed is, even when God's telling people time to leave for Israel, it's simple stuff. Grab the bread. I don't care if it's risen. We still need bread. You're going to need to eat. You're going to need shelter. You're going to need each other. And I think those things always are important and they're unwavering. So, if people are always saying, oh, now's the time to pivot, now's the time to recession proof, now's the time to future proof. You always should have been building a future proof business. That's not something that you just start doing. And so, for me, it's always been, how are you spending in your business? Are you being wasteful? Do you know your numbers? So, the minute that, the recession finally hit in a big way, it was always happening. We knew a year ago a recession was going to hit. It was just when and how big. So looking at, the fact that it finally came, I was able to look at my numbers and say, okay, this is the burn rate in our business, meaning this is how quickly we burn through money in order to run our business every month. And so I was able to say right out of the gate, this is a month that we would, if things continue in a drastic way, we would have to let people go. This is when we would need to get rid of the office space. This is when we would need, I can look and chart that all out. And I'd been planning for this a long time ago. And I think that is when people are thinking about future proofing and stuff like that, you should know those numbers in a peak economy and you should know it in a bottom economy. And I think that is more of the mindset I'm hoping people carry into this experience. What can I do today to make sure I'll be ready tomorrow? It doesn't matter we don't plan and start preparing when the plague has come. We start doing it beforehand. So,
yeah, exactly. I think stewardship is the is the key, right? Is the key.
The key value.
Yeah. So what, because everybody I know, we have audience is just about to get started and some audience, they're about to scale up. Yes. So what would you say, maybe some simple, what are some key like a milestone they need to more focus on because for me, different stages in business should focus on
Totally.
different things, right?
Yes.
So what would you say for somebody maybe just get started and somebody maybe about to scale
More
up?
established. Yeah. So if you, it's two separate categories. So if you're just starting out, do away with hearing about these six-figure launches and
Yeah,
massive
please,
things. Like
please.
just don't even think about it. You know what I mean? I wish you the success of a very small launch. That's the thing that I always try to tell people, because you should be starting in beta. If there's anything I could free you with, it's the concept of beta launches. Get 5 to 10 people to test out your product, be involved in the experience, take surveys, figure out what they like, refine the product, do that at a minimal rate that allows you to start building up that working capital and do things debt free. But really, aim for 5 to 10 people. So often people will come to me saying, my business isn't working. I only got 30 people who were interested in the first launch. And I was like, no, that's fantastic, because you don't have the means, the ability, or the scale to handle 500 people. If you
Yes.
get 500 people right out of the gate, it will break your business. You won't be able to serve well, and you won't be able to manage the experience accordingly. So if you are just starting out, be thrilled with the small wins. The Bible says, do not despise humble beginnings. And there's a reason for that. That applies in your business as well. Take these small beginnings, lean into them, and serve well. And for someone who is larger, the biggest thing is understand that you can't do it by yourself. And, that's another biblical lesson as well. It's not that you don't ever think anything you have or do is based on you alone. So it really is about saying to yourself, where can I take $10 problems and give them to someone else so that I can focus on $10,000 problems?
Yeah.
So, if you're a larger business owner and you are still checking your email or following up on things or still pitching a request or taking the mail to the post office or packaging products, these are things where even if it is just 5 to 10 hours a week for $10 an hour, you can hand those off to someone else to handle, whether it's a kid, an intern, an assistant, you name it. And then you spend your time focusing on things that are actually going to help you grow and scale, whether it's negotiating a contract or pitching a new vendor or media. Those things will actually help your business in a bigger way, and you are the person who's supposed to do it. So those are the two things I think, no matter where you are in business, are really major areas of focus.
So if you guys just heard what she said, you see, she basically tell two different group of people, but same principle, stewardship, because it's a stewardship the talents, right?
Yes.
Right. The other thing, before we go, I really like to ask you about this, because I got asked all the time and say, about humility, right? People say, oh, we are Christian, we shouldn't be too out loud there. But now we have to build a personal brand-based business.
Yeah,
so now all of a sudden I need to put myself out there and feel bad about it. And
right.
What do you say about it?
It's awkward. Yeah. So here's what I believe, and whether or not it's right or wrong, I know everyone has different opinions about it, but I'm a big believer in when the Bible calls us to be humble in spirit as Christians, what the humility is that he's talking about is the humility before God. Never think that you are better than God or anyone else. And you better believe that is humility that we are regularly reminded of every day. The fact that we have to sleep and our God never sleeps. Let that be humbling enough, So that said, I am supposed to speak out loud about the blessings in my life, the wins that I have, the struggle that I've been through, and all of those things, because God also gave us the word testimony. And our life may be the only Bible that some people read. So I want to make sure they get every good page, and I want to be able to say, hey, look at the things he's done in my life. And I always give credit where it's due. But God, by the glory of God, look at what's happened. And it will offend some people. It will make some people uncomfortable. It will be unusual. But if it's doing those things, it means it's challenging their current way of being and making them consider that there may be something else they don't know about and they need to ask better questions. And that's exactly what I've been called to do. And that is the way that I choose to glorify him. And more than anything, if people call that cocky, yeah, you know what? I will brag about what my God does. And I am cocky about my relationship with Christ. And I am, bragging and boastful and excited about everything that Jesus Christ has done in my life, for my family, and for my business. And so I'm going to talk about that all day, and I'm going to show him off. And where the humility comes in is just always giving credit where it's due, to the fact that I would have nothing if it wasn't for the blessings that Christ has given me every single day.
Well, you guys got that? You see, I'm not the only. I am not the only one say that. The other day when somebody asked me the question again, I said, God told me literally one day, wake me up, say, Kelly, you know what is a true humility?
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, obviously you woke me up, you have something to say.
You have something to say, right? I'm up. What is it?
Yeah. And he said that the true humility is when you don't care what other people say, you only do what I ask you to do.
Yes, that's so good. Yes.
So, it's that simple. And yes, exactly, that people, will be criticized. And, Jesus wasn't well loved for every single person, right?
Right. If they didn't like him, then that must mean I'm doing something right. I should not have everyone like me. I don't want everyone to like me, because if people like me that are people who don't do good things, then I must not be doing something right. You know what I mean? So you're right, Kelly. You nailed it.
Yeah, exactly. So, Nicole, I cannot thank you enough for saying yes, come on the podcast. My tribe been waiting forever, and I'm waiting forever. When first time I messaged you, and I told them, I say she's coming on, and then
I love it.
When? But I'm so glad. I'm so glad we got to do this. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It was so much fun.
Thank you. What do you think? I hope you enjoy as much as Nicole and I did. So if you like this kind of content, would you please do us a favor? That more people know about our channels and our podcast, Christian CEO Podcast. You can subscribe to this channel, share this video. Also, you can subscribe to iTunes or wherever that you listen to your podcast. Now, for all the goodies and links, especially for Nicole's website, we will put in the show note at kellybaader.com/085. Again, it's kellybaader.com/085. For more helpful videos, just click on the links on the screen, or even better, hit the subscribe button so you will not miss another great video. Thank you for watching.